Today's Coffee and COVID is session 5, May 22nd, and is brought to you by IMAGINEi5 in partnership with COVID Accelerator. So, as you know, a lot of you know us already. We are IMAGINEi5. Sarah, Clarice, and I have co-founded it about a month and a half ago. And we develop individuals and communities who decide to make an impact in the social good sector. So we help those social good advocates develop initial ideas, gain resources, and implement so we can create a new world together with plenty of projects and initiatives that are going out there. So for today, let's recap. So for today, we're gonna have Dr. Nana talk to us about the project update for covidmd.org. And then we're gonna transition into storytelling with Samuel Han. And then we're gonna go into a story that Sarah is gonna share. From there, we're going to be doing some personal reflection and finalizing with an activity. So we have a full pack agenda as usual. And that we're gonna make our 1 hour last and have fun, right? So some technical things before we get started. So, you can get connected to the COVID Accelerator using the Slack channel and to us through IMAGINEi5 class within the Slack channel. We also invite people to put in the LinkedIn account in the chat so that they can start connecting as well. And yeah, visit our website as usual. Okay, so now let me introduce Dr. Nana. So she's working with my COVID MD. And so just hearing you talk a little bit ago, like you have been doing a really awesome job developing solutions for connecting us. So personal story, my parents got COVID, and whenever we were in that situation, we did not have a plan.
Yeah.
And we didn't know anything. How do you act? How do you respond? How do you make, like, what do you go, what do you do next? And that was very critical. So that's where I found like your story really, really interesting. Like, okay, here are the tools. Here's how you can help others. So yeah, I don't want to take more time and give it to you, Nana, so you can tell us more what you're doing. And if you have anything to share on the screen, let me know and we can add it there.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. And that I love hearing those stories, like real personal stories. And I'm going to practice what you taught me by looking in the camera. So the backdrop, I don't know, can I actually move? Can you actually, if I move on the camera view, you can see the backdrop? That actually, I was able to find it, but that is our banner. When we go to events and things like that, there's a big banner that one of our volunteers who works for a graphic design company created for us. It's fantastic. It's humongous. But My COVID MD has now since now almost, wow, can't believe it's 10 weeks already. We have our first MVP of the app, which is on mycovidmd.app. We have 800 people who have signed up on the app. We have 440 community health volunteers who signed up. We have 6,000 people who have what we call put on the wait list. So they're waiting for us to pop up in their city or locale, and then they automatically opt into being part of our program. And like I said, we have tested through our pop-ups about 1,400 people to date. And the pop-ups, the design of the pop-ups were always designed to be community-centric. And so when you go, it's almost like a block party. You hear music right away before you enter. There's 6 stations. And now we have our Seventh Heaven station. And that station allows for our nonprofit collaborators to present different things. We give gift cards away. We give flowers away. We do grocery, food distribution, all of that. So the experience for us has been incredible, and for all those who go through, because it's more than testing. They can feel it from the moment that they get there. Um, on the interesting side, on the research side of things, so there's three components of My COVID MD. It's the actual live pop-ups, it's the online service that we want to be able to create that longevity, like you mentioned. Once you find out you have a test, where to go, what to do, and who to contact, especially if you don't have access to your doctor, which a lot of people don't right now. Having that direct to contact person has been incredible for a lot of people, and that's growing. We have now a full-time CHP coordinator who coordinates all the volunteers. So within 48 hours, someone is being, if you were in the program, were tested, someone's calling you. We've now been approached by a couple people, including some people with the COVID Accelerator, to be part of research on our cassettes, which are really cool, because we have over 1,000 cassettes that we can help to build machine learning around what is the quality of antibody testing, positive, negative, and all the variations. So that's been a very exciting piece. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the behind the scene piece of how we're helping on the economic side for people. Our volunteers are part of an initiative to make sure that they get some kind of debt relief, whether it be student loan debt relief or an emergency savings account. And so every volunteer that does some kind of work remotely or on site is part of this project that we have with Commonwealth. And we were granted $50,000 solely for distributing $500 a piece in emergency savings to our volunteers. So we're super excited about that, because self-help financial institution is interested in helping to match those funds if people can save much longer. And we really wanted to emphasize the importance of financial health in this time of tragedy. Which leads me to my ask. This weekend, we have been really, like I said, working so hard to get this pop-up going for the Unified School District, and we are just $7,000 shy. And so we know it's hard right now for everyone, but every little bit counts. If you are inclined or know anyone who's willing to donate, please direct them to covidmd.org so that we can have this pop-up for the Unified School District teachers and janitors. The cool thing is anyone who donates and gets sponsored will be on a sponsor board that will be taped by the group of the documentarians, filmmaker, film people running around with me. So if you want to see your name in lights, this is a good time. And so anyone who has, I just heard about one of the organizations here through COVID Accelerator, but any of the lab setups, I think that's really where our most biggest expense is setting up labs. So it's cool to know that there's people working on that that could really help us, and I would love to collaborate. But thank you for giving me the platform to talk.
Thanks, Nana.
And I'll take questions.
Thank you. And we've also, you got connected with 3C Bio, so hopefully you guys can partner it out together.
Yeah. Hey, this is Ari. A quick question for Dr. Nana. On the donation site, it asks you to select the city that you wish to sponsor. Which city should we select?
You can select the In This Together, hashtag In This Together. That's general fund. So that allows us to move it across any city. The city selections are for those who are like, I definitely want you guys in my city and I'm donating it to my city.
All right. Thank you. Doing such awesome work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so now we're gonna, with that wonderful story, we're gonna transition to storytelling with Samuel Hunt. So it's about a 30-minute session. So Samuel Hunt is a friend and executive leadership coach. He's the CEO of a 30-year-old management and regulatory compliance company, and he has facilitated leadership communication classes, as I mentioned, at UC Berkeley. And yeah, he's just an awesome person that we're glad he's joining, and he's gonna teach us different techniques in order for us to figure out how are we going to find the reason why we're doing what we're doing and tie it to a story. So yeah, without further ado, let me pass it on to Sam, and thank you so much for your time, Sam.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. It's my honor to be invited to help Adriana and the group to learn more about your organization and to see how I can contribute to all of you too as well, right? So today, since we don't have a lot of time, we'll be talking mostly high level, right? Some key things to think about when you are crafting your story or how to persuade your audience when you're presenting your story. So before we dive into the storytelling kind of structure, that's one thing that Adriana and I went through the Berkeley leadership program, and Dr. Mark Rittenberg actually came up with these 5 powers of authentic leadership. So if you look at the screen, there are 5 different items, right? That's on the screen right now. That's actually very important, right? How you persuade others and how you communicate. So the first thing you look at is presence. I'm not sure if people want to just put in a chat box, or you can unmute yourself. Feel free to share your ideas. It's more interactive and we're learning from each other too, right? So when you think about presence, what are you thinking about? When you say someone have a good presence, when they're talking, when they're communicating, anything that pops up in your mind?
That they're able to listen.
Mm-hmm. Listening, yep. Great. And also like the energy, right? What you're giving out. Like when people say you have a good presence, especially when you're doing in-person, presentation too, right? What kind of vibe you're giving out to the room? Because that really change the dynamics of the whole presentation. So energy, presence, that's one thing. Next is communication, right? What do you think, what's communication to you? When you think about communication, what's the number one thing that you think of?
Two-way.
Confidence. What's that say again? I'm sorry.
Conveying what you want to say articulately,
Yep. Yeah, how you speak, how you articulate. Yep.
And two-way communication, which means yeah, you also listen to what how other people react and what they think. Yeah.
Very good. Yep. Two-way to also understand the audience, seeing your reaction, clarity, articulate, two-way, perfect. So all these are great, right? So in this communication, what we talk about is the words, the choice of words you use, the voice, right? The vocal variety, right? Up and down and whatnot, and also the nonverbal. Especially when you're doing like live presentation, right? How you're using your movement, gesture, facial expression, that's all part of the communication. So that's actually critical, right? When you're doing your delivery. How about intention? So what do you think, for intention?
Intention, I think of the why are we doing this? Like, what is the intention? What is the purpose?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Like intention is more like, are you clear, are you honest, right? What's the intention of trying to tell people? Are you saying what you mean to say? Yep. And someone say intention, if someone's genuine, right? You can tell if someone's really speaking from the heart, they really believe in it, that comes out through the communication. Great. And the next one, conviction. What is conviction?
Persuade other people for your intention.
Mm-hmm.
And convey the knowledge, convey the information properly.
Mm-hmm. How to convey the information properly. Yep. Someone said a drive to keep going.
Sincerity, like with what you're saying, kind of.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And all these are definitely, right, part of conviction. That means people can tell you're believing in what you're saying, right? Your commitment, their confidence. Nana earlier mentioned about her project, and I was really intrigued about her conviction, right? You can tell she believes in what she's saying, her facial expression, everything, right? That shows that she's really passionate about that too. Someone also said the strength your beliefs can give you. That's great. Also the drive to keep going, believe in your message, right? And make sure that we think about it when you craft your story and how to persuade others, right? When you're presenting it. And the last one is knowledge. So it's knowledge to you.
Know your topic.
Know your topic.
And do the research.
Mm-hmm. Anything else? That is great, right? Knowing the subject matter, the topic, anything else?
Perhaps knowing what you don't know, so that way you can allow room for others to add in.
And I would say knowledge could also be the knowledge of the goal that you want to convince people to sway towards. Because it may not be like a real knowledge. It may just be somewhere you want them to go, and you're trying to convince them to go believe in that bias or that direction, or
right. Yep. So
persuade
it's a
them.
direction. Yep.
Yeah.
The direction, clarity, right? About where you want a message to go. This is all great. And someone is saying broad and keep understanding of vertical and horizontal thing. Oh, sorry, broad and deep. This is great. Knowledge, right? And the contents, right? Topic. But there are two other things. That's actually part of knowledge. You know the subject matter really well, but you also have to have a good understanding of yourself and the audience. The knowledge about you, how you communicate, and the knowledge of the audience, right? If you think about like, you know, presenting to a group of students versus like a group of politicians, you have a very different messaging, right? So the subject matter, knowing about yourself and knowing about the audience would be part of knowledge. So these 5 powers of authentic leadership, Dr. Mark Rittenberg really focused on that, and I really believe in it. And that's something that can be applicable not just to storytelling, right, or day-to-day leadership too. So I think this would give a good foundation for what we're talking about next, is the structure of storytelling. So great. Let me see the next slide, right? We talk about storytelling, you know, what do you have in mind? Why do we do storytelling?
It's an effective way to communicate information with people.
Effective way of communication. Anything else?
Educate. Before TV, the Africans for thousands of years used stories to tell. That was like entertainment and education. They would pass on deities and different stories through storytelling.
And I got a good, wow, they have a build relationships. That's a really good point, right? Build relationships, engage the audience, demonstrate experience. A lot of this is about a persuasion too, right? Like trying to convey ideas. But it's a really good point about build relationships. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that too. Align your values. Those are all great. So for, of course, like every time when you do storytelling, right, that's a different purpose. Depends on the audience too. So this little framework is going to help you craft your message, and that's something you can practice later on at the second half of today's meeting. So when we talk about storytelling, you know, that's always the beginning, middle, and end. So it's important when you think about like a 90 seconds presentation. A lot of times it may not be an hour presentation, right? You only have 90 seconds. How do you get the most out of the 90 seconds? So there are 3 things here that will actually be a good point for you to think about when you craft a message. So I earlier talked about it needs to have a clear beginning, middle, and end. And when you start the beginning, we always talk about vertical takeoff. Anyone have any idea what vertical takeoff means? Or what does it mean to you when you think about vertical takeoff? No clue?
Make it clear, get straight to the point of the topic of the story from the beginning.
Yes, yep.
Maybe like something that attracts you to the story, like just that initial.
Yeah, yep. So if someone's saying getting the attention, the hook, that's exactly right. You know, all this is no right or wrong, right? I think really just something to think about when you're crafting your message. So the vertical takeoff is really setting the stage, right? Everyone have a story, but what is the key thing from the story that can make it memorable? To bring the audience to that particular time and space that you want them to be in, and to create that relationship, right? An emotional connection. So visualization, right? Vertical takeoff, setting the stage will be number 1, right? That can be one simple sentence at 1952, a humid and hot summer day in New York City. By saying that, you're taking people to that particular year and time, it's hot and humid in New York. And there are many different ways doing that, right? But that's a good example. Your story can be really good, but having a good vertical takeoff can really draw the attention of the audience and putting them in that particular moment you want them to feel. So vertical takeoff, having a clear beginning, middle, and ending. right? A lot of times we tell a story at the end, you're like, well, what is he or she trying to say, right? It's not clear. So having a succinct, deep and brief, strong ending will be very important. Anna earlier for her project update, she talked about her ask at the end. It's really clear, right? She's talking about, hey, donating, doesn't matter big or small, I just need that amount of money so that I can actually finish a project and reach that goal. And also she has a lot of facial expression. You can tell she's passionate about it, right? And she's excited about what she's doing too. So this is actually a good example already, right, for what she did. And I think, Sarah, you have your own story about this organization too, right? Do you want to share with us?
Yeah, sure. Awesome. So we thought we would use this as a practice for ourselves too. And we can use it as an example and we can take it apart. And then when you get into your practice session, you have something to like work off of. So I'm going to give it a shot. So here we go. So have you all ever watched, I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen here so you guys can see me. So have you all ever watched the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Yeah, have you guys ever watched that? Yeah. So it's like a really cool story because there's a home where like everybody's trying to feed you. You're like uncles and aunts and cousins and families all around you. And it's kind of like this beautiful chaos, right? Well, I really like that movie because it's representative of my childhood when I think back. So I grew up as a first generation Lebanese and American. And my Lebanese culture values family and community quite a bit. And my American culture values individuality. And throughout my childhood and early adulthood, I really struggled between those different value systems. I felt that they were at odds with each other. And I, in fact, lived a life in each one of them. So my childhood was very much in this Lebanese community, and my adulthood was very much in this American independence. And during each of those phases, I abandoned the other. So I either abandoned the self or I abandoned the community. And I really felt deeply pained by the abandonment of the other. So throughout that time, I actually figured out that, you know, each of this exploration was necessary for me to discover what I like within each of these pieces of my culture. What do I want to adopt and take in? And also it was necessary to discover that the individual and the community only really exist because of the other. And that they're not differing values, but in fact, that they are parts of the same whole. So much of this story that I'm telling you is similar to Adriana and Clarissa's story. Actually, our story mirrors each other. We find value in developing the individual and the community symbiotically. And this is really why we created IMAGINEi5. We want to create a place of collaboration, play, creativity, and create the future together. And with this defined why, our ask to you is, if you align with this mission, will you join us in a brainstorming session sometime in the coming weeks as we work together to find out what our business model is? We really want your feedback, and we need that brainstorming session to identify how to bring this into a reality beyond what we're just doing right now.
Great, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to open up to the group too, right? Great job. You know, we were actually working on it last night, right? To think about, you know, what would be a good sample, right? With this kind of structure. So what do you think about the vertical takeoff? We talked about earlier, right? Setting the stage, have people visualize the moment you want them to feel or to be in. How do you think Sarah did in that aspect?
Let's see the chat here.
Well, it was awesome to get us connected with a picture, right? So the image of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, like we all know it. So it empathizes with us and it gives us the hook to ask us, why are you telling me this? Like, why are we talking about that movie?
Yep. Great. I got even more comments now. Personal experience. I think that's really key, right? Something personal to you. Any topic you can always relate to yourself, right? And when you're showing yourself a little bit more vulnerable, I think that actually connect with people even more, right? Especially emotional connection. Someone says you connect with something many people know. Greek family on theme, but something we don't live in this upbringing, which is great because, you know, a lot of times when people talk about stories, I saw some comments earlier, oh, have you seen the movie? Do you like it? you can relate to people. People have seen it, they're like, oh, I love it. You know, I know exactly what you're talking about. And then trying to relate you to that scenario, right? The family dynamics and the chaos. You talk about beautiful chaos. It also says it's easy to identify with visual of what she's saying. That's great. Yep, visualization, right? And that's just one good example of how she's using that as a vertical takeoff. And we also tried different ways yesterday too, right? It can be talking about maybe her being Lebanese American, you know, growing up, you know, in America, how she felt. It can be also a picture that she can paint as a vertical takeoff. So there are many different ways you can do it. Do you think she did a good job in the beginning, middle, and end? Is it clear to you her message?
Also, negative feedback is important too. So don't worry about critiquing me. I think that's actually very important for our story too. So
yeah, so I think, you know, what we're going to do here is, you know, we're very open. You know, we should always talk about what worked, right? There's a lot of things that work really well, and we should also talk about maybe one thing that could be improved on, right? That's no right or wrong. What are the kind of things maybe you can do this a little bit differently that can help it even better, right? And I feel like you did a fantastic job conveying a story in less than 90 seconds. Your ask was really clear at the end. Any other comments from the group? Wow, somebody said they haven't seen the story, but you explained the story well. Even better, right? Yep.
I will say, just referencing, I think you mentioned My Big Fat Greek Wedding as a reference. That definitely kind of grabs my attention because, you know, I'm sure a lot of people have seen that movie. It's really funny, and it's interesting that you can sort of draw some sort of parallels from that movie and what you're talking about.
So someone always said, I like the issue about community and individual. I think the takeoff could have been more vertical. Interesting. Okay. I would like to hear more about the thing you're trying to build beyond creativity, innovation, fun, any details, any narrowing. So Sarah, what do you think? When you think about that, right? Like, let's say your vertical takeoff, anything else you can do to make it even more vertical, right? What would that look like to you?
That's a good question. Maybe can I hear from the person that suggested it? Like, what specifically about the vertical takeoff did it, like, what was missing in it? Was it the execution more so? Was it the wording? I would actually kind of like to hear that, and then maybe we can read it there.
Yeah, I think it's
yes,
yep.
It was me. Yes. So I think you could have gotten to the dichotomy between individual and community faster. That's all.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So that really good point, because we can tell that's what you're really focusing on, the messaging for the whole story, right? But you bring it up to the beginning, right, to somehow morph into your vertical takeoff. Very good feedback.
Yeah, maybe think about what the Big Fat Greek Wedding means. And to me, the movie means just a crazy, wild household. And I don't know how that related to the dichotomy. So maybe, you know, talk about the movie, and then use some adjectives or some little snippet of a small anecdote or something, and then jump into the dichotomy. Like that. Just got it along.
Yeah, thanks, Nico. I think that could have been reframed. Like, you see this like crazy household, but then you see, like, for example, the main character, she's trying to find her voice in this like crazy family. And I think like utilizing, because you really see that dichotomy between like her trying to find like who she is within the context of this like amazing family that's like always in her life, right? So I think I can definitely reframe it in such a way, like, instead of just talking about the family part, but also talking about like her finding her voice in this story. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so some comments saying they haven't seen the movie, so can resonate, right? And but that's a good suggestion when you talk about painting the picture too, right? In case people haven't seen it, how do you visualize for the audience what you're thinking about? Like earlier, just now, you're saying about, oh, it's about the main character, right? Feeling she lost, like she's finding her voice, you know, versus just all the chaotic scene and funny scene in the movie. So maybe you can actually act it out a little bit, right? Maybe if all the chaos, people throwing, you know, plates on the floor, you know, while dinner, and she's so lost. to say, who am I? Like, or something like that, act it out a little bit, right? And one thing that's interesting is when Adrian and I, we were in that class that I was coaching, and a lot of people, especially guys, right, will come out and we're trying to improve on what they can do. And they feel so unnatural to be acting out. They feel like I'm acting. But then when you look at the audience, they're like, no, like that's not exaggeration. It's just normal to the audience. But when you're doing it, right, sometimes you feel like you're exaggerating your emotions or facial expressions. So this is great. I think you all actually did a great job providing feedback. Nicole and Andrew, all these people, right? I think it's great that you're giving comments. I think that's an art of how to give feedback to, right? Always give, you know, good feedback. There's always something that works. And then give improvement, right? Sometimes you only need one thing, right? No one is perfect. I think it's one thing to improve on to get better. And I think that's what you are trying to do today, Sarah, right? With the group is to have people practice one-on-one in small groups and practice that, right? Try to give a story in 90 seconds or whatever instruction you're going to give, and try to give feedback to, right, help each other. And when you're thinking about that, there are a few things. Since we're doing Zoom video, and I think that could be applicable too, is the energy given out, right? Your eye contact, your breathing, your voice, your facial expression, right? Your smile, are you listening? All that will still be part of the presentation, right? You can say something very happy, like the context may be very happy, but if you don't have a smile on your face, you know, I can say, oh, I'm very happy, but then like, it's not real, right? So there's connection with you, how you react, how you act, and also the words and the voice you use, right, to convey the message. So I think this is a great idea for your group to kind of practice it. And you can carry this on, right, after this meeting too. So I'll pass on to Sarah again.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. That was awesome. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you 2 minutes before you jump in to breakout rooms to really reflect on what your story is. I know that's pretty quick time, but give it a shot. You have a gut feeling, go with that, and we'll give it a try. So I'm just gonna quickly give you guys a chance to write some stuff down, and then in a moment, we'll do the breakout just so that you see the structure. You're gonna tell, I'm gonna let Clarice talk through this a little bit more here.
So let's practice 2-minute self-reflection, and we will have one breakout room session for 10 minutes with 2 members per room. In the breakout rooms, we will share our own stories, and also we will support each other through providing valuable feedbacks.
Do you want to think of a story that relates to a project that you're doing and figure out a way to connect your values, your system, and everything that you have in mind to the project, and then put together in a form of a vertical takeoff, beginning, middle, and end, and then an ask. It is a lot to think about, but it is to get you started on the ideation of the story for your project.
And it's also a good way for you to practice active listening. When your breakout room teammate is presenting his or her individual stories, which leads toward pass and share the ask. So I'll provide feedback about what you actually hear from the story and what's your understanding of the project, what a speaker can add to the story and improve to make the story more influential and impactful. Today, personally, I feel I learned a lot from Professor Sam Holmes' 5 Power of Authentic Leadership and the storytelling methods. And Sarah's self-exploration story of her why and ask also bring lots of thoughts. And we would like to hear about your idea. What did you learn from today's session? Do anyone want to speak up of that?
I learned that I have been procrastinating on my my slide deck and general presentation for a while, and I should definitely focus on it.
That's okay. Us too. We were still figuring things out. So this was our kick in the butt. So
I love these type of frameworks, like on how to do the presentation itself, whether it's call or in person, to have a structure. When I do like documents, it's always so structured, and I just like lose it when it goes to conversations or in-person meetings. And the idea of keeping a structure to it is a new thought process to me, but it seems like it's so important. I don't know why I would just do things structured and throw it out the window when it comes to in person. But the takeoff, the middle, the end, and something I lack on is the ask. I always forget to ask for what I want. I always wonder that when I walk out of here, did they even know what I wanted, or was I clear? So that's why this has definitely been great for me.
Glad to hear, Andrew. Thank you for sharing.
I second all of that, Nathan.
Yeah, yeah, man. But I don't want to start talking because I can talk all day. I love these brainstorming things. But like for me, now I can hold this up to other people, which I won't do, but I'm saying like, like I was talking about the president, and I'm like, wait a minute, and plus myself, like, am I getting off my goal here? It's just, I like this. This was really one of my favorite ones. I love this one.
And for me, right, you can be able to share some of the framework with all of you, and to actually listen some feedback from all of you too. I think that's great. I have a lot of respect, knowing what you're all doing, right? In my little breakout room, I learned about what my partner is saying, how it's matching farmers, right, with waste and resources to people in need. So I think the ask is clear, right? But we can be even stronger, like what you're exactly asking for. Like Andrew is saying, right? Sometimes you forget. You in your mind, you know what you're asking, but then on the audience end, right, they're like, well, are you asking for this or are you asking for that? So to provide clarity and feedback to each other to help fine tune that ask, right, will be important. So I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
if you wanted to contact Samuel, here's his contact information as well.
Yeah, and this is our website. Let's move on. For the next steps, we have every Friday, Coffee and COVID. On May the 29th, we have MVP workshop. In July, we have pitch night. Thanks for our wonderful sponsor, COVID Accelerator, and it has been a great experience. And I look forward to see you again next Friday.